Hi there, faculty. This video is a how-to on how to complete your program learning outcome mapping, which is due prior to assessment day, which will be held week of accountability, January 10th, 2024. Before we discuss some of the program learning outcome mapping, we'd like to give you a chance to review some of the history of our assessment process at Chandler Gilbert for some context. This is where we've been, and you can hit pause and read this and take it in, but we talk about this quite a bit, both in our division meetings and at our assessment forums and with our Student Learning Outcomes Assessment Committee. So if you are involved in assessment, we're pretty sure you know these aspects of our assessment process already. Another view is to look at it over a timeline. And one of the things that is just laid over this timeline is that additionally, in the early years of this timeline, Maricopa Community Colleges underwent guided pathways. And that's important when we talk about program learning outcomes, which we will do in a couple of minutes. This is where we are in 23-24 academic year, and this is where we're going. And just again, this work needs to occur prior to our five-year cycle mapping on assessment day in January 2024. So essentially what we're hoping to accomplish is that disciplines understand where their program review are going to occur within the next 5-year cycle, that they will have the PLO mapping work done for emphasis degrees in the arts, in the sciences, and for certificates of completion, and that this information will be able to inform the next 5-year cycle. So faculty can make strategic decisions on when to do those formal assessment projects within the next 5-year cycle that makes sense for program learning outcome mapping work and for program review information. So what do these curriculum maps look like? Well, what you're seeing on the screen right now is a screenshot of a completed curriculum map. If you go to this bit.ly /PACMAP 2023, you will arrive at the folder that contains all of these maps. Now, these maps exist because earlier in the slideshow, I mentioned that Maricopa Community Colleges underwent guided pathways. And when guided pathways occurred, a handful of people, you may have been one of them, got together and wrote program learning outcomes for the respective degree or certificate of completion in Maricopa Community College's curriculum. So this information that is contained within the program map 8121 comes directly from the Center for Curriculum Transfer and Articulation within our district. When I look at this map, I notice that the program learning outcome 812101 right here exists in all of these courses except this one, EXS 290. And that's just a spreadsheet crosswalk based on the information that is provided right here. All these parenthetical prefixes, course prefixes, after the program learning outcome. It is our job to turn these X's into I's, R's, or M's. And what those interpret as is I stands for introductory, R stands for reinforce, and M stands for mastery. So in this context of the AAS in exercise science, health, fitness, and sports performance, our colleagues in exercise science have agreed that this program learning outcome exists at the introductory level in EXS 101, 125, and 146. At the reinforced level, which is a little higher than introductory level, in EXS 215 and 217. And then it exists at the mastery level in 246, 255, 257, and 275. And that's the first thing you want to do with your faculty. And when we talk about mastery here, we're talking about mastery in the context of the award. We know that mastery means very different things across very different awards and degrees. And we are identifying and defining mastery in the broadest sense of the term. So for an Associate of Science degree, this program learning outcome is mastered in these courses. However, this student may engage in these kinds of ideas beyond this associate's degree into a bachelor's degree or a master's degree and so forth. So we are using this within the context of the award. Once that is identified, one of the M courses needs to be identified as an assessment course for program review. So exercise science faculty have identified that EXS 257 would be a good course as a program review course. And then the last thing they need to do is go back to that course, EXS 257, and find the course competency. We're calling it a course learning outcome here just to be consistent in nomenclature, that best aligns with the program learning outcome. So if you notice, the program learning outcome here is apply a fundamental understanding of the relevant scientific concepts of human anatomy and physiology, biomechanics and psychology, and the course learning outcome that matches that to the best alignment is design evidence-based weight management programs that achieve desired physiological adaptations. Now notice that there are some keywords or key concepts that match these. They're not a direct match, and we know that. Also notice that in this PAC map, that there are certain lines, for example, PLO number 2, that only has one M. If this is the case for your certificate or degree mapping, the M course must become the assessment course. So I can see that program learning outcome 2 here is only mastered in EXS 290, therefore it is used as the assessment course. What I also notice on this completed map is that EXS faculty are using the opportunity and relying heavily on EXS 257 and EXS 255 as assessment courses for program review. I suspect, and actually I can confirm, because the exercise science faculty are also our program review task force chairs, Dr. Kim McGee, that she does some projects and assessments in EXS 255 and EXS 257 that lend themselves to assessment projects and assessment courses for program review. So she's being strategic in relying on this information heavily, both for program review and also so when she maps assessment projects, she has this information and consider building robust assessment projects that can then have data and analysis and results pulled not only for program review, but for SLOAC and general education outcomes. So that's the work that's upon us. What you do not see in this PLO mapping, this PAC map right here, is that in your maps, and I will open up the secondary education one as an example, all of the information from the CCTA is hyperlinked. So when it comes time to identify an M, and for example, in 860901, we only have one X listed. It's in EDU 115. So I suppose that not only is this program learning outcome introduced, but it is also reinforced and thusly mastered within the context of an associate's degree in this one course. This faculty can also go and find the MCCCD official course competency that best aligns with this PLO and write that number here, this course learning outcome here, and EDU 115 here. During our fall forum series, of which we held 16 distinct sessions to engage faculty in understanding the PAC maps, we came across quite a few questions, and we'd like to take a moment to talk about some of those questions prior to mapping. A reminder that program learning outcomes exist because of guided pathways, and lots of us don't even know that these program learning outcomes exist. And that is because guided pathways mapping was an opt-in effort. Faculty were invited during academic semesters to spend time at the district office and map those associate's degrees to program learning outcomes in courses. You might find that you read a program learning outcome and you disagree with it. Your faculty decide that there is no possible way that that program learning outcome exists within the degree, or it cannot be measured within the courses it is identified and existing in. That is an opportunity to engage your representative on the respective instructional council and begin the conversation to have that program learning outcome either removed or revised. Mastery, again, is defined in the broadest sense. We'd like you to think of mastery within the scope of the award, being the certificate of completion, the associate's degree, or the associate's in science degree, the emphasis degree. We recommend that you do this work with your disciplinary peers. If one of you is taking this on because you have agreed to do the work with your disciplinary peers, please make sure you review that work before January 10th, 2024, so the work is done prior to mapping the next 5-year cycle. If you do not offer the course at Chandler Gilbert, you signal this by removing the X's from that column on your PAC map. That will signal to us that the course is not offered at Chandler Gilbert. But if the course is offered at Chandler Gilbert, the X's need to become an I, an R, an M, and this work needs to be completed before January 10th, 2024. You do not have to do this work in isolation. Please feel free to reach out to myself, to Jeremy in the CTLA, or even just stop by the CTLA for assistance, and we can help answer your questions and guide you through this mapping.